Hello and welcome to this module where we are going to discuss milestone tasks. A milestone represents an important activity for the project plan, such as the end of a major phase. To represent these important events on a project, we create what we call milestone tasks. For those of you that drive, you are always looking out for those boards on the highway that tell you it is now 20 kilometers to the next city. Now it is 10 kilometers. Now it is 5 kilometers. Those are examples of milestones because they tell you how far you have gone on your journey. So the milestone itself does not usually involve any work, and it is a task that has got a duration of 0. But however, you can pick any task on your project plan and represent that task as a milestone. Like, for example, we could say the pouring of concrete on our foundation is a milestone, or the fitting of a roof is a milestone. But in our case, we are going to create milestones that are independent of the tasks. So we are going to divide our project into phases. So we will say phase 1 ends after the concrete on our foundation has dried. So once the foundation is finished, phase 1 is finished. Then we start constructing the walls and fitting windows and doors. So at the end of the construction of the walls, after the plastering, we say phase 2 is finished. And then the last milestone will be the end of the project after the last task. So in order for you to create a milestone, you need to insert it among these tasks. So we take our cursor where we want the milestone to be. So it must be after the drying of the concrete. So we click in this field and then we go to the task tab, and then on the insert group you insert a milestone. So you can see that we are working with tasks. That is why we go to the task tab, and we would like to insert something. So we go on the group that says insert. So you could insert a new task, but in this case we are inserting a milestone. So I click on milestone, and then it creates a new activity here, which is a milestone that we will now call end of phase 1. So my milestone is end of phase 1, and it is going to be on Saturday 31st of October, which is that date of completion. So 31st. So because it is a 0 duration task, it starts and ends on the same date. So if we now scroll, it puts the milestone in the form of a diamond. You can see this diamond shape here. That is the milestone. It is unlike this horizontal bar, which represents a normal task. Your milestone is represented by a diamond shape. So remember, this line is our relationship, our link between these two tasks. So we've just inserted milestone end of phase 1. So let's go to the activity just after the drying of the plaster, just before we start constructing the roof. So you click there and go to task. Under the insert group, we insert a milestone, and then we call it end of phase 2. And we also make it to start on the last day of the previous activity, which is the 17th of 12. So if we scroll to the right, on the 17th of the 12th, we've got our diamond, which is the milestone task. And then the very last milestone is the end of the project. So we put it after the last activity, task, insert, and milestone. And then we say end of project, 15th of January 2021. So it represents our last milestone. So we now have 3 milestones on our project, and we are going to be looking out for these key activities so that we measure progress on our project to see if we are reaching the milestones on time. So the milestone tells you by 31st of October we must have finished the pouring of concrete and it must be dry. Then the next milestone tells us by 17th of December we should be done with the plastering and it must be dry. And then by the 15th of January the whole project must be done. So the milestones help us to re-evaluate our progress, so that if we need to adjust the pace at which we are moving, we can change the rate at which things are happening. Or if we need to bring in more resources so that the project goes faster, we plan for those resources and we bring them in. What I'm going to do now is to show you how to convert any of these tasks into a milestone. Remember, we say that generally a milestone like end of phase 1 has got a duration of 0 days and there is no work to be done. But let's say, for example, we want a particular activity to be a milestone. So we can take, say, this plastering, and we want to convert it into a milestone. So what we do is you can either double click on it to open the task information, or you can click on task, then you go to information, then it will open the task information page. We need the Advanced tab, so you click on Advanced, and then on the Advanced there is a field at the bottom which says mark task as a milestone. So in other words, this task is a normal task with a duration, but we also want to mark it as a milestone. So I click mark task as a milestone and I say OK. So let's scroll to the right and see what happens. So this task now still has a duration of 5 days, but it has now been marked as a milestone. You can notice the difference that the other milestones are blue in color, but this milestone is gray. Why? Because it is different from these other milestones. And the difference is that this particular one has got a duration. It lasts for 5 days. It is an activity with work involved in it. Whereas these other milestones do not have any work involved in them. So now, because it is a milestone task, it is no longer represented by a horizontal bar like the other tasks, but it is now represented by a diamond on the last day of this task. So this is a 5-day task which starts on that very day and ends on that day, but it is only represented by a diamond on the last day of the activity. So in the next module we are going to be looking at what we call summary tasks. So these were milestones, but we'll now be looking at summary tasks. So make sure that you insert your own milestones, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, with their respective dates. So we see you in the next module.